Welcome to another exciting episode of Gibbon Travelogue. I'm Lilian.
And I'm Gilbert.
And today we're in...
Today we are in Shiretoko. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site famous for its pristine wilderness and dramatic wildlife. Are you ready to explore this place, Lilian?
Yes.
Okay, this way. In our last video, we shared the second leg of our Hokkaido road trip, where we visited Mount Asahidake, the highest peak in the Daisetsu-san volcanic group. We also explored Daisetsu-san National Park, admired the stunning Rausu and Ginga waterfalls, and completed the longest drive of our road trip so far, a 275-kilometer journey to the wild and remote Shiretoko Peninsula. In today's video, we take you to one of the most unforgettable places in Hokkaido, the Shiretoko Peninsula. Over the next 3 days, we explore one of Japan's last great wilderness, go in search of brown bears and whales, and discover just how unpredictable and rewarding nature can be in this remarkable corner of the world. Shiretoko is one of the most pristine natural regions in all of Japan and is recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Located on the northeastern tip of Hokkaido, the peninsula is famous for its rugged coastline, dramatic mountains, and incredible wildlife. It is one of the few places in Japan where nature still feels truly wild. If you are planning a trip there is one important thing to note. The Shiretoko Peninsula has two sides, Utoro on the western side and Rausu on the eastern side. Both are linked by Route 334, a scenic road that cuts across the peninsula and will take around 45 minutes or an hour to pass through. This road has seasonal restrictions and is only open from 8 AM to 5 PM. That may not sound like a major issue at first, but it can affect your itinerary quite a bit. For example, you will stay in Utoro and book a 9 AM cruise departing from Rausu. You could be really pressed for time. So before coming to Shiretoko, we spent some time planning our days and making our cruise bookings carefully. For this trip, there are two wildlife cruises we really want to do: bear watching and whale watching cruises. For the bear watching cruise, we find a reputable operator called Shiretoko Cruise Hidetomaru. They run bear watching cruises from Rausu side of the peninsula and offer two different courses. Both depart from Aidomari fishing port with two departures each day, one in the morning and the other in the afternoon. The first is the Shiretoko Cape and Bear Watching course, which takes about 2 to 2.5 hours and costs 11,000 yen for adults. The second is the Bear Watching Utoro course, a longer cruise lasting about 3.5 to 4 hours and costs 16,000 yen. For whale watching, the most popular operator appears to be Shiretoko Nature Cruise. Their whale watching cruises depart from Rausu and last about 2 to 2.5 hours depending on sea conditions. There are two sailings each day, one at 9 AM and another at 1 PM, and the fare is 9,000 yen per adult. Now, because both the bear watching and whale watching cruises depart from Rausu, it actually makes the most sense to stay on the Rausu side of the peninsula. That would save a lot of driving time, especially with the restrictions on Route 334. Unfortunately, by the time we try to book our accommodation, which is already around 3 months before our trip, most of the hotels and guest houses in Rausu are fully booked. So we end up booking 3 night stay at Hotel Shiretoko on the Utoro side of the peninsula. Thankfully, it has turned out to be a very pleasant stay. The location is excellent, close to restaurants and convenience stores, and Utoro port. And with that, let's continue from where we left off in our last video. It is our first full day in Shiretoko, and our plan for the morning is to visit the Shiretoko Nature Center. Followed by Shiretoko Goko, also known as the Shiretoko Five Lakes. The Five Lakes are one of the most iconic attractions in the national park. These 5 small lakes are surrounded by ancient forests and reflect the mountains of Shiretoko on clear days, creating one of the most beautiful landscapes in the region. This area is also known for having one of the highest densities of brown bears in Japan, which is why access to the lakes is carefully managed, depending on the season and bear activity. Because we do not have a lot of time this morning, we decide to take only the elevated wooden boardwalk instead of exploring the full walking trails around the lakes. The elevated path gives us a nice quick taste of the scenery with lovely views over the forest and towards the mountains. It is a short visit, but definitely still worthwhile. As we have a whale watching cruise booked for 1 PM, we head straight for Rausu town via Route 334. We are hoping that somewhere along the way, we might spot one of the animals we really want to see in Shiretoko, the elusive Ezo red fox. One of the highlights of Route 334 is Shiretoko Pass, the highest point at 338 meters above sea level. From up here, the scenery is absolutely breathtaking. Right in front of us stands Mount Rausu, rising with an imposing presence over the landscape. Shortly, we arrive at the office of Shiretoko Nature Cruise in Rausu town. But then comes the bad news. We are told that all cruises for the day have been cancelled because of high swell and rough sea conditions. What happened, G?
The wave too high, so our cruise got cancelled.
Alamak, we are so disappointed. We have been looking forward to this whale watching cruise, and after driving all the way across the peninsula, this is definitely not the news we want to hear. But thankfully, we have 3 days in Shiretoko, and since our bear watching cruise is scheduled for tomorrow, there is still a chance to reschedule the whale watching cruise to the day after. So for now, all we can do is to keep our fingers crossed and make the best of the rest of the day. Since we are already in Rausu and it is lunchtime, we decide to have lunch at Shiretoko Shokudo, a popular seafood restaurant in town. And lunch here turns out to be excellent. We order a seafood bowl topped with sea urchin, crab meat, and fresh sashimi. It is exactly the kind of meal you want in a fishing town like Rausu.
What's lunch?
Fresh and satisfying.
Try the uni. Mosai. Must stain all my rice with the uni sauce.
After lunch, we decide to drive all the way to Aidomari fishing port, which is where we'll be heading tomorrow morning for our bear watching cruise. It feels like a good chance to familiarize ourselves with the route, and who knows, maybe we might spot some wildlife along the way. And very quickly, the wildlife starts to appear. At first, we notice what looks like a stray dog by the roadside, but then we look more carefully at the tail. It is bushy. Yes, it is an Azo red fox. And from that point on, we begin seeing more and more of them. One fox even comes very close to our car. It almost seems to be expecting food from us. My guess is that some of these foxes may have been fed by humans before, and unfortunately, this has probably made them more used to approaching cars.
This ultimate already.
Well done.
What's happening here? Got a fox.
Just right here.
It's right outside of
Just right outside.
You show.
We see many Azo Sika deer along the way, grazing by the roadside and in open fields. It is one of those drives where you constantly have to keep your eyes open because you never know what animal might suddenly appear around the next bend. After spending a couple of hours during our own little wildlife safari, we finally make our way back to Utoro. And as we drive along Route 334, the weather suddenly changes. The road becomes incredibly foggy and visibility drops sharply. It feels almost surreal, as if the whole peninsula has been swallowed by mist. It is a reminder of how unpredictable the weather in Shiretoko can be and how wild and untamed this place really is. Back in Utoro, we make one more stop before dinner. We head to Yuhidai, also known as Sunset Hill. This is an elevated viewpoint near the Shiretoko Natural Campsite. And it offers sweeping panoramic views over Utoro Port and the surrounding coastline. It is a peaceful place to pause for a while, take in the scenery, and simply appreciate the beauty of Shiretoko. For dinner, we head to Leonardo Shiretoko Shokudo. This place is known for dishes like fried salmon with tartar sauce and tangy chicken. But tonight, we decide to order a few items to share. We go for the grilled squid with sauce, fried Hokkaido chicken, grilled chicken with green onion skewers, and crispy salmon skin chips with mayonnaise. After a hearty dinner, we return to Hotel Shiretoko. And of course, before calling a night, we make one final stop at the hotel's hot bath. The next morning, we wake up to much better weather, and that immediately lifts our spirits.
Okay, so what are we doing today? Bear watching. Okay.
Happy birthday!
Oh, happy birthday. Thank you.
Today is the day of our bear watching cruise, one of the experiences we have been most looking forward to in Shiretoko. Of course, with wildlife cruises, nothing is ever guaranteed, and after yesterday's whale watching cancellation, we are still a little nervous that the weather may turn against us again. We set off from Utoro and make our way across the peninsula once again. This time, everything goes smoothly and we arrive in Rausu ahead of time. In fact, we managed to grab a coffee in Rausu before proceeding to Aidomari fishing port. Soon, we are greeted by Mr. Hidetomaru himself, the owner of the company and the man who will be our guide and wildlife spotter for the morning. He's accompanied by his boat captain, and before long, we are led down to a small boat, ready to begin our bear watching adventure.
Woohoo! Ready to go?
Yeah, ready to go.
As we head out onto the water, the weather starts to shift again. The views become increasingly foggy and visibility gets worse the further we go. Looking at the conditions, I cannot help but wonder if our luck is about to run out. So I asked Mr. Hidetomaru what he thinks our chances are of seeing a bear today. He replies, 50-50. Okay, not exactly the most reassuring answer. Still, we press on, scanning the coastline and the slopes above us, hoping for some movement. Then suddenly, Mr. Hidetomaru raises his binoculars, and almost immediately, the boat captain cuts the engine. We all turn in the same direction, and there, high up on the mountainside, are a mother brown bear and her two cubs. They are very far away, but through the binoculars, we can clearly make out the family. Mr. Hidetomaru tells us that seeing a mother with two cubs is actually quite unusual. More often, a mother bear may only have one cub to focus on, increasing the chances of that cub surviving. So to spot two cubs together is a special sighting right from the start. What a way to begin the cruise. As we continue along the coastline, we are treated not only to wildlife, but also to some of Shiretoko's stunning scenery. Waterfalls tumble down the cliffs into the sea, and even under the foggy skies, the coastline looks dramatic and beautiful. This is one of the reasons why exploring Shiretoko by boat feels so special. We are not just looking for animals, but we are also seeing a side of the peninsula that is inaccessible by boat. A little later, Mr. Hidetomaru points towards what at first looks like nothing more than a rock along the shoreline. But as we get closer, the rock starts to move. Yes, it is another bear, and this time, it is much closer. It appears to be a lone juvenile bear, calmly foraging by the coast and munching on something it has found. Watching it through the camera lens is incredible. This is the kind of sighting we are really hoping for, a wild brown bear clearly visible going about its day in its natural habitat. But just as we are all focused on the juvenile bear, Lilian suddenly spots another bear on a hillside to our left. This one is a large mother bear, and not long after that, we notice her cub as well.
Coming down already.
The juvenile bear seems to sense their presence and quickly decides it is time to move off. It runs away.
What's a baby?
And the mother bear with the cub eventually take over the same area.
Oh, so nice.
By the end of the cruise, we have seen a total of 6 bears. 6 bears! Not bad at all for what started out as a 50-50 chance. We are absolutely thrilled. It turns out to be such a rewarding morning, And we are so grateful to Mr. Hidetomaru, the boat captain, for making it possible. Their experience, patience, and sharp eyes make all the difference. And after thanking them for a wonderful experience, we begin the drive back towards Rausu town for lunch, and along the way, we get another unexpected wildlife sighting. Perched nearby is a white-tailed eagle. White-tailed eagles are massive birds of prey with an average wingspan of over 2 meters, and they are among the most impressive raptors you can see in Hokkaido. And what a beautiful bird it is. For lunch, we return to the same seafood restaurant we visited yesterday in Rausu. Yes, it is that good. So once again, we sit down to another delicious seafood meal. And after a morning like this, everything tastes even better. On the drive back towards Utoro, we continue spotting more foxes along the roadside. By now, it almost feels like the Ezo red fox has become the unofficial mascot of our Shiretoko stay. Back in Utoro, we slow the pace a little and enjoy a relaxing tea time at APU Café, a sail-themed cafe that adds a fun and quirky touch to the afternoon. It is a nice place to sit down, rest our legs, and simply take in the laid-back atmosphere of this small town. Later in the evening, we head to Cape Puyuni to catch the sunset. Cape Puyuni is one of the classic viewpoints in Utoro, overlooking the sea and the dramatic Shiretoko coastline. The scenery here is especially beautiful in the evening light, and it feels like the perfect way to wind down after such an eventful day. We also stopped by the Shiretoko Nature Center for a short walk. We also spent a quiet moment at the port, watching the seagulls, listening to the sound of the water, and just enjoying the calmness of the place. For dinner tonight, we decide to try something completely different. Instead of seafood, we head to a burger joint called Woot Burger. And wow, the burgers are excellent. This is definitely not the kind of place we expect to find in a small town like Utoro, but the burgers are genuinely very good. It is one of those pleasant surprises that make travel so enjoyable. Sometimes the meal you least expect turns out to be one of the highlights. After dinner, we return to Hotel Shiretoko, and once again, I end the day in the best possible way, with a long soak in the onsen before going to sleep. The next morning, we wake up to our third and final day in Shiretoko. This is also our last chance to go on the whale watching cruise that was cancelled on our first day. So naturally, we are really hoping the weather holds this time. Registration for the whale watching cruise is at 9 AM and the boat departs at 8:30 AM, so there is very little room for delay. Thankfully, everything goes according to plan. We arrive at Shiretoko Nature Cruise on time. There is no cancellation notice. And after quickly completing our registration, we make our way straight to the boat for boarding. Compared to yesterday's small bear watching boat, today's vessel is much larger and far more crowded. There is both an upper and lower deck, and you can immediately feel the excitement among the passengers. Everyone is hoping for a memorable morning out at sea. And the action starts surprisingly quickly. About 20 minutes into the cruise, we get our first whale sighting. It is the Mickey whale. One of the staff members comes round and explains the species to the guests in Japanese. But she also shows us pictures and explanations in English, which we really appreciate. It makes the whole experience much easier to follow and much more enjoyable for international visitors. Then around 10 minutes later, comes the moment that really takes the cruise to another level. We see our very first Orca. Wow, it is such a majestic sight. Although Lilian and I have seen orcas in a while before, in the United States, more than a decade ago, it still feels incredibly special to encounter them again. There is just something about seeing these powerful black and white predators in the open ocean that never loses its magic. And the best part is, it is not just one orca. We begin seeing pod after pod of them. This stretch of water off Rausu is one of the best places to see killer whales. Every year, up to 200 orcas migrate through the Utoro Strait off the coast of the Shiretoko Peninsula, with sightings peaking in June. During this period, they often travel in pods averaging around 11 individuals, and some pods even include calves. No wonder this area is considered one of the top orca watching destinations in the world. For us, it is an absolutely unforgettable experience. Watching these pods surface one after another, gliding through the water with such grace and power, is simply mesmerizing. After about an hour and a half of excitement, the boat finally begins to turn back towards port. And just when we think the cruise is winding down, nature throws in one final surprise. Out of nowhere, a huge whale suddenly emerges from beneath the water, incredibly close to the boat. It is enormous, much larger than our boat. This time it is a fin whale, the second largest animal in the world after the blue whale. What a sight! This individual is easily over 20 meters long. By the time we return to the port, everybody on board is smiling. There's been such an incredible morning on the water. And for us, it feels like the perfect way to end our time in Shiretoko.
We get someone to take for us now, shall we?
By now, it is already around noon, and we decide to have lunch back on the Utoro site at the Shiretoko Nature Center. Lunch is fairly simple, but after the morning we have just had, everything feels extra satisfying. And as we sit down to eat, it is hard not to reflect on what amazing 3 days we have had here. Shiretoko has given us so much more than just beautiful scenery. It has given us real wildlife encounters. It has also shown us how unpredictable nature can be. One day our cruise is cancelled by rough seas, and the next 2 days we are blessed with so many amazing wildlife sightings. This is what makes Shiretoko so special. In our next video, we leave the Shiretoko Peninsula behind and continue our Hokkaido road trip. Our next destination is Kushiro, about 170 kilometers away. So stay tuned for our next episode of Gibbon Travelogue, where we hit the road again and make our way down to Kushiro with a few interesting stops along the way.
Okay, that's all folks.
Hope you liked this video. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give us a like, leave a comment for us, and subscribe to
Gibbon Travelogue.
Until our next video,
We'll
we'll see you again. Bye. Mata ne.